Over the past few days, we've talked on the channel about the pogrom in Amsterdam against Maccabi Tel Aviv fans. For those who are tuning in for the first time since that has happened, um, uh, gangs, mostly of Moroccan men, were hunting down Jews, Maccabi fans, who were in Amsterdam for the match. Uh, this it was a great opportunity for them because Maccabi fans, walk around with scarves with the Star of David. It's easy to find Jews in such a situation, easier than usual. What I kind of mentioned but didn't go into details is the fact that I was in Amsterdam for the match, and that I was reported missing at some point. So today we're going to talk about that. It's a slightly different episode from what we usually do, but I think in this case my story is relevant. Um, and I asked Alex to join me for this episode specifically because uh, in a very serious sense, she's much more a part of the story than I am. When I was basically unreachable, um, my wife started a WhatsApp group. Many people were kind of involved in efforts to find me. Alex was very much involved, uh, used her connections and so on. It turns out, by the way, sorry for the spoiler right at the top, that I was just sleeping in as I often do. But it was absolutely better safe than sorry. It is a possibility that I will go out in a trip that is specifically for a football match out to enjoy the city with fans or by myself. And this was not one of those evenings. It was kind of a very cold night. Also, since I did go to there for a football match and we lost, the team I support lost 5-0. It was maybe the worst match I've ever seen football wise. I wasn't really in the mood, and I was in a hotel out of the center. But all of that was unknown to people. So yeah, welcome to the Daily Objective. Today we're going to talk about that. Alex, thank you for joining me. I will thank you again. I thanked you privately. I will thank you publicly for your help in those hours of panic that I didn't experience, but many people close to me did.
Well, I mean, you're telling it as if it's kind of a very funny story, and I suppose in retrospect, it is. However, the sequence of events was that I texted Daniel probably at around 11:30 in the morning Israel time after I'd heard that you were in Amsterdam. And I kind of said, like, have you been able to contact Razi? I hope he's okay. And Daniel said, you know what? Reach out to his wife. I hope, she'll be able to give you some information. So I reached out to your wife. She didn't have any information. And I think that she was getting inundated with a lot of people asking, for updates basically as to how you are. And then she added me into the WhatsApp group to try to help kind of locate you. And kind of at the very same time, reports were being kind of floated in the press that potentially there was a hostage situation. So I kind of said, okay, you know what? You'd rather be the person who makes a bit of a fuss and maybe embarrasses Razi somewhat rather than you don't, take action. So immediately I kind of said, okay, I said to Daniel, I said, let's get a collection of all of the videos that we can potentially find and let's put them in a drive. All of the videos that are out there. And I asked your wife to send me a picture of what you were wearing. All right. So I said, okay, let's start going through these videos. And at the same time, let's start calling up some of the likely hotels. And then your family members are being added. And at some point, somebody did report you, officially missing, and you were being reported as officially missing. And we really did. It all sounds very, very funny now, but sadly, I'm not going to say many, but I've seen situations like these where there's panicked loved ones around a massive suicide bombing event or some other kind of terrorist attack, and it has not ended in such a happy outcome for everybody. So, really in those, I would say sort of 2 hours where I would say we were actively pretty worried, we called the hotel multiple times. I think the poor hotel receptionist had received calls from your wife, your mother. I think everybody was calling. And at one point, I'm on the phone and I hear, are you on the phone? I hear them speaking to each other, like the receptionist. Are you on the phone to the mother? I'm on the phone to the mother. And they didn't want to wake you up, right? We didn't know if you'd, we
Well, it was
didn't,
the
first
wrong
of all,
hotel.
well, so it was even better. I didn't know that. So, so, so then I floated the idea. Um, they're refusing to, wake Razi up if he really is in the hotel room. So we're not getting a definitive answer as to whether we need to like escalate this issue, or whether we need to like, chill out, right? So I had the great idea of contacting the Chabad, the local Chabad, um, and getting them to go to your hotel room and try to bang on the door and see if you were there. And everybody thought that was a brilliant idea. Everyone was like, "That's amazing. That's the funniest idea."
For people,
Oh yeah,
yeah, yeah. For people who don't know, Chabad is an ultra-Orthodox Jewish organization that has presence worldwide and kind of helps Jews with stuff.
yeah.
It's not an accurate description. There's probably more to it.
Yeah, definitely. So it's an acronym that's basically kind of a Hasidic movement that came out of a city called Lubavitch, sort of kind of really that really took off, I would say, in the 60s, and kind of they're almost like an unofficial embassy for Jews anywhere in the world. So, you can be in the middle of Finland and something has happened and you need help. You know that you're going to be able to, at least there will be somebody who may be able to help you through whatever situation. So yeah, so that was kind of what I was floating. And I have to say, they would have they I had a vision after we found out Razi was okay of him being woken up by a Hasidic man throwing rocks at his window to try to wake him up. Like you would have thought like what kind of dystopian nightmare am I actually in? But that also I think proves to you how seriously we were taking that situation. That yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and it is a situation that now is kind of funny looking back, but absolutely wasn't funny at the time. By the way, I checked into the hotel online before I arrived and I got a ground floor room, and the first thing I asked when I checked in was to be higher up. So I don't know if they can throw that far, but yeah, that's another thing. There were attacks on Maccabi fans in hotels. They went, the terrorists basically knew where some of Maccabi fans were staying and attacked. Daniel has disappeared. I hope we're still live. I think we are.
yeah,
Yeah. So let me just go to a couple of super chats. Um, Okay, that's just checking that we're live. Thank you, Christian, for the super chat. Before I read it, I will say Christian was there with me in the match. Although we were sitting separately, we met there. We met for lunch. We went to hang out with the fans before shit hit the fan. So thank you, Christian. Christian says I can sadly not attend the show live today. So this was a super chat before the show. My first Ajax game was a good one. Less so for the Maccabis. That is football wise very, very true, and not just football wise. Razi, you were so right with the silence rule in the cab. So after the match, Christian and I are hanging out, and we're thinking of taking the train. And I go to the train station, and it's obviously full, as you would expect from 55,000 people leaving a stadium. And I see the next train is in 13 minutes, and I say, let's just take an Uber. And I told Christian, look, let's not talk about the match, not talk about anything that would identify who I am. Not as an, head of Ayn Rand Center UK, but as a Maccabi fan. And that was a fear I had even going in, and it's a fear I've spoken about on this channel, a fear I have in taking Ubers that are usually Muslim drivers, and you know, obviously that doesn't mean they are going to do something bad, but it kind of statistically increases the chance. Now, later on, we did discover, or it could have been actually in the morning that day, that we discovered that there were Uber driver groups planning attacks on Jews. And earlier that day, actually, when I went to meet Christian for lunch, I took a taxi, I took an Uber from the hotel, and it was a Muslim driver, and he was speaking on the phone to somebody, and it was in Dutch, but I kind of pick up a few words here and there, and he was saying things about Mossad and saying things about fans. Now, nothing happened, but it's an uncomfortable experience, and for people around me, Friday morning when I couldn't be found was a scary experience for me. Friday afternoon when I took an Uber to the airport was what I was worried about. Luckily, nothing bad happened. Thank you, Stephen, for the super chat. Thank you, Bonnie, for the super chat. Thank you, Wes, for the super chat. Thank you, PC, for the super chat. PC says, Razi, glad you're okay, friend. Thank you. Thank you, PC, for another super chat. PC says Israel has warned its citizens and Jews of groups of Jews who pose a threat in UK and elsewhere in Europe. I don't know if that was miswritten or misread, but yeah, Israel has warned Jews, and that is the world we live in. That's a very important thing to understand here. The Israeli, we talked about this on the channel. The Israeli national football team is playing against France in Paris in 3 days. It's not unlikely that there will be attempts. And a few days before Maccabi played Ajax, Paris Saint-Germain played a game in the Champions League. They had a massive banner saying "Free Palestine." The I in Palestine was the map of Israel. This is where the Israel national team is playing. So there is absolutely a threat, and absolutely a threat if if you are going in with anything that identifies you as Jewish. That is Europe today.
I actually tend to disagree with that whole idea. I think that what has sort of shaped my vision of the way that I see things has really been Oslo. And the fact that prior to 93, 94, when, you know, before you actually had rules stating Jews could not go certain places, and if they did, the military or the army was not able to offer them adequate protection, you essentially made it open season on Jews who ever decided to go there. So I tend to actually take the opinion that it's very important for Jews to be visible, and that I mean, I'm not talking in some kind of, self-sacrificial, we die for the cause. I'm saying that I really feel that if we're going to have a chance of not end that Amsterdam and London won't be like Ramallah, in the sense that my parents certainly were of the generation that you could walk around. It was like just being in another, city with other people. And I really do feel that the for me that is a huge lesson, that when you cordon an area off and you say no Jews can go, that's it. No Jews can go. That doesn't mean enter at your own risk. Okay, what that means is, the way that is interpreted is that anybody who goes in here is fair game and it's their fault. And you see that often played out anytime there is any terrible violence that happens if a Jew goes into the wrong area. And I feel that is an event that is very hard for us to actually pedal back from. So I don't know. What do you think, Razi? Do you think that I'm just being needlessly idealistic?
So, members of the Ayn Rand Center UK have access to our WhatsApp groups, and I yesterday posted there's groups on different topics. I yesterday posted in the sports group kind of half jokingly, there's still tickets to the game in Paris. Anybody want to
Mm.
join? Um, but if you ask me, and I'm not gonna go like mostly because I'm gonna save my football spending money for Maccabi matches. Um, but yeah, I would be afraid, if this was
Yeah,
within my budget, I don't think I would go anyway. So yeah, I mean, I value my life to the point that I said yesterday. If I had been attacked and somebody said, "Say free Palestine or we won't let you go," of course I would say free Palestine. I would, say whatever they want me to say just to get out of that situation. So this is what we need the government for. Like, this is what the state is for. It's not for all the crap that it does, except this.
yeah,
So I would like to see, the authorities do something. I said earlier today on my Hebrew podcast when I did kind of the same topic that, um, you know, what is coming is probably places where there is a Jewish population, you will see Jewish militias.
yeah, for
So
sure. Yeah,
because
there's no way.
because the authorities are saying very clearly with their actions, we're not going to
Hmm.
do anything about this. And
Hmm.
Jews are not really, excited about the prospect of another Holocaust, and they will likely do things to, try to prevent it. Uh,
Yeah.
I want to go to a couple of other super chats. PC, thank you for another super chat. PC says, I've never used Uber. For me, Uber is a wonderful thing.
Mm.
Not just because I love the story of the company and the founder, but just, I can't reasonably afford taxis, certainly not regularly. I absolutely hate taking the underground, not to mention night buses. Part of my thought of why I shouldn't go to the center was, how am I going to get back on a night bus or in an Uber that, I might not get back on.
Right, you might get
So,
killed in.
so in that sense, I love it. In the sense of, you know, who the drivers often are, less so.
Well,
Um, yeah.
I was going to mention, Razi, did you ever hear about Get Mahadran? Did I tell you about that? About Get Mahadran, which is the Get Taxi is in the
Oh,
Israeli.
oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think I told you this story, but we have an app which is very similar to Get to Uber, and it's called Get Taxi, and it is the dominant taxi app, and people use it hundreds of times a day. And so listen, okay, I take taxis a lot in Jerusalem, and I take taxis a lot in Jerusalem at night. And they released a new version um, I think it was about a year ago, whereby they had this special feature that meant you could order a taxi and click the Mahadran feature, and you would get a taxi driver that, kept the Holy Sabbath, right? And the reason that people created this functionality is because of the level of sexual harassment and intimidation that women were feeling. I mean, it was a very much, I would say, a very open secret. So they created this functionality whereby you could order a taxi in Jerusalem and be guaranteed to be getting a Jewish driver. Just the absurdity, okay, of that conundrum, whereby you're you're getting a taxi, you're engaging in commerce, you're choosing where to spend your money, and people are actually making a consideration. Will I pay more because there was an extra fee that was incurred, so that I don't feel like I'm rolling the dice, okay? Taking taxis. I mean, really, to get to that level, to get to that point, and this feature was taken to the Supreme Court for discrimination. So now, sadly, when you order a taxi at night, well, at least when I order a taxi at night, I have to just look at the name of the driver and just decide if I'm going to cancel it, right? Or, I mean, it's not, uh, and that is a very, very common problem, very, very common thing.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
Tremendously sad.
Yeah, and here we have Uber X, Uber Green, Uber Black. Yeah, I wouldn't mind an Uber, pork eater or something. I mean, I can't, it kind of excludes,
Yeah.
religious Jews as well, but sorry.
So the whole, I mean, the way that they were able to justify it was because you do have, you often do have these ultra orthodox, or not even ultra orthodox, just organizations in Jerusalem that if you have specific shops and specific gas stations that people want to support, right, because they have this special sign, we keep the Sabbath or whatever, then it's a voluntary thing. People are opting into this decision, to spend their money where they want. And I remembered it was a big bone of contention when they removed that feature from the app, and all of the various women riders were complaining at the top of their lungs. And I really hope it doesn't get to be that sad state of affairs in the UK.
Yeah. Okay, I want to get back to some more of the story and some more super chats. I just want to read Feral Lunch Lady says, self-driving taxis will be awesome. I don't like the awkward social stuff, even with nice drivers. I'm with you on that. Yes, I would like a car with, nobody talking to me unless it's people that I'm riding with and want to talk to.
Mm.
Um, uh, oh, Daniel says here in our Zoom chat, the moment between Razi picking up my call and actually hearing his voice was like the longest moment ever. LOL. Yeah, Daniel was the first person I spoke to. So just on, how it ended, what it was, me eventually waking up, looking at my phone. There's many notifications, but I get notifications when I wake up anyway,
You're
emails
so
and
popular.
WhatsApp groups and stuff. So, and then I see kind of half asleep, I see a message from a friend in Boston, who I texted to tell him I'm in Amsterdam like days earlier, saying, "Oh, I just made the connection of you being in Amsterdam. Are you okay?" And so before even clicking the message, I go check the news, and then I see what happened, and I see there are two people still missing, and it took me a couple of hours, I think, to understand I'm one of those two people they're referring to. And then
Yeah.
as I'm reading this, a call comes in from Daniel, and I answer, and I kind of assume it's the same thing, so I say I'm okay. And yeah, then when I eventually looked at the WhatsApp group, I was added to it by you a few minutes
Yeah.
before before I commented. So I see a
Yeah.
WhatsApp group with a few messages from the last few minutes, and I'm like, hey, I'm okay. I just woke up. Thanks. And I didn't really realize the magnitude of everything. The fact that don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but my cousin was talking to higher ups in the government. You were talking to I don't know who. There was yeah, people, as you mentioned, many people called a hotel that I wasn't staying at, and
And the
and
group, say, was it save Razi or something, or something to that nature?
yes.
Help find Razi, save Razi. You must have been like, who's this Razi
Searching, it was
character?
searching for Razi, but yeah, it was also a
Searching for
surprise,
Razi.
a
And we
surprise to
ran it
see.
like a military operation. Daniel and I, we were immediately going around. Because in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, if this is a real situation, then I do want to have something to hand over to the authorities, right? To say, okay, you're taking over now. I've been looking for him for 4 hours. This is where I'm at. Go ahead. Like, well, worst case scenario.
Yeah.
If I couldn't get a helicopter myself, right, or charter a plane.
Yeah, and shortly after I spoke, I think at the time I was talking to Daniel, I had an incoming call from my brother, so I answered. My mom was there. She said something about we've been searching for you. Your brother's wife was on television, which I thought she was joking. At this point, I thought it was all like it's a bit of an exaggeration, but yeah, it turned out that it was a very big deal, and
Channel 14 reported, Israeli found or whatever. Yeah. I mean, they
yeah,
really, well, because we thought that the Dutch police made a massive mistake in releasing that kind of information, that they're investigating a possible hostage situation. Well, obviously you're the police. There's people missing. You're looking at all options, I assume, right? Alien
yes,
abduction might be on the list as well. right? I mean,
but
it's
it's still an incredibly irresponsible thing to
irresponsible. Yeah, yeah,
publicly say. But yeah, the Dutch authorities handle this terribly in every at every point, which is why the first episode we did, actually the second episode we did about this was about how the Dutch authorities handle it. Let me go to thank you, PC, for another super chat. PC says about the super chat before last, typed it fast, meant Israel warned Israelis and Jews of the danger of attending matches and cultural events. Yeah, it's beyond that. There's more talk of kind of potential attacks on Jews and Israelis nowadays. And of course there would be, because this, this is being both celebrated and blamed on the victim. So
yeah,
and people are not being arrested or were arrested and were released. So why
yeah.
not try it elsewhere? This is an inspiring moment for the Exterminate the Jews movement. Thank you. Let me quickly, I think there's one more left. Thank you, Roland, for the super chat. Roland says, Razi, now the city of Amsterdam will permanently be associated with you in my mind. Glad you're safe. I'm glad that that's what you associated with. Now it's, for me, it's going to be kind of uh, somewhat negative association. I still love that city, but yeah, Alex.
Yeah, I mean it's I suppose yeah, we were just really happy yeah, we were just really happy to have you back, and the Amsterdam police were so irresponsible. They missed their chance, I think, to be to run things appropriately. And also, you know how you mentioned before that it's a little bit like the way that they're blaming the Jews is a little bit like asking her what was she wearing after she had a sexual attack. It's like saying that. It's like asking what was she wearing. But then I go, yeah, but she was a real slut. She was a real slut. Like it's just this kind of very cynical. Yeah, the Jews had it coming. I mean, come on, they were in Amsterdam, and they were potentially maybe connected to people who chanted some stuff. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, and
so
we've seen
yeah,
people say, well, there's two sides to the story, which, with that
yeah,
analogy, yeah, there's also two sides. There's somebody who didn't consent. There's
yeah,
somebody who was horny. So,
there you
yeah.
go.
And if you can't really evaluate that and say, okay, but one side is evil in this and one side is a victim,
Hmm.
then you are absolutely part of the problem. And speaking of people who are part of the problem, somebody who loves being part of the problem is Owen Jones. It's been a while since we talked about him. Just the thought of him. Anyway, we will talk about him on the next show, the reality show, which is coming up in a couple of minutes. Thanks, Alex, for joining me, and again for all
There
your
you
help,
go.
and to the other people also who are not on the show but were helpful in what turned out to not be what it could have been, and absolutely the being concerned in such a moment is the right thing to do. And yeah, now
I
let's.
just want to say that Daniel and I are available for any kind of ad hoc reconnaissance that you're going to be needing. So just feel free to get in touch, and we'll give you our rates for the search, for the reconnaissance, and then you know what? Maybe we'll handle the ransom negotiation.
Email us at findingmissingpeople at aynrandcenter.co.uk. The reality show starts in a couple of minutes. Thanks, Alex. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you there.
See you later.